Whoa, Google, you're blowing our minds, not once, but twice now with the Google Pixel 6 Pro. You did it once before when you leaked out the design of the Google Pixel 6 on your own and showed off motion sense along with it. That was unheard of, and we loved it. And we know that you loved how it turned out too. And you did it again, but bigger and better and far more than we could have ever imagined, with a full-on page about the Google Pixel 6 Pro on the Google Store, then renders, colors, information on the new Google Tensor chip, and even mini reviews from Marques Brownlee and other media outlets. Let me tell you, what we're seeing here is a new Google that is more confident and bold than ever before, and there's a lot to look forward to. With the Google Pixel 6, the game is changing in both Samsung and Apple. Better watch out. Let's talk about how we got there, and I'll share with you what special Google Pixel thing is in this box, because this is Tech Today. This video is sponsored in part by Hypure and their Hypure One Premium Wireless Earphones, a more environmentally conscious option for earbuds at a smarter price. We'll talk about them more later in the video, but you can also check them out and make a difference for the environment by clicking the link in the description. Now, before I talk about the Google Pixel 6, I have to start with this. Yes, the Apple iPhone. You see, Apple has enjoyed immense success after a lengthy investment in developing their own chips, so much so that it has produced incredible dividends for them far beyond mobile devices and into computers with the M1 chip and beyond. This didn't happen overnight, but started in 2008 when Apple started developing their system on a chip to replace the Samsung chips they used before. In 2010, we finally saw this new chip in the iPhone 4, giving Apple control of both hardware and software. This had many benefits as they could cater their chips to their long-term goals for iPhone and iPhone alone, like security and updates. So after all these years of Apple gathering more and more market share and control over what they can do over their phones, I know a bunch of you were thinking, okay Google, do something.
What can I do for you?
How many of your Google devices went off? That at least deserves a like for at least the YouTube algorithm. But seriously, pixel after pixel has shown us that Google's strong suit hasn't been hardware, but software. Almost every Google Pixel has had some sort of glaring issue with it, from faulty cameras, blue tinted screens, memory issues, or poor battery life. Google hasn't gained much of a reputation for being premium. Instead, it's become more well known for, yes, having a great camera, at least in the past, but more recently as a great phone for the dollar, or as I'd like to say, as a great delight to dollar ratio. It's a great budget or mid-range phone, but not premium. The Google Pixel 5 seemed to embrace this reputation with open arms by not even trying to use the latest and greatest specs and aiming for a more affordable option compared to like the flagship options from Apple and Samsung. So in many ways, it has really looked like Google had stopped trying and was far behind. But that was far from the truth. During this time when Apple pulled ahead with their chips, Google had succeeded in developing their Tensor processing units, which are in their 4th generation and was revealed at this year's Google I/O. I reacted to that and you can watch that video up here. But these chips are kind of insane. The TPU v4 helps provide services for Google Cloud and powers many of their machine learning and artificial intelligence endeavors like Lambda, which allows for natural conversation interactions with the Google Assistant, and Mum, which allows Google to better understand questions in natural language, reducing the need to interact with the Google Assistant in robotic and specific ways to get the response that you want, something that's still a huge issue on Siri and Alexa. So while it looked like Google only cared about chips for their broader endeavors and the Google Pixel was something doomed to flounder into the budget territory, Google had been quietly working on something far greater for far longer than most realize. You see, they've been trying to create their own chip since 2010 with the purchase of chipmaker Agnilux. By the way, that's the year that the Google Nexus came out. But to be fair, we didn't see any mobile chips from Google until 7 years later when John Bruno, a former Apple chip designer, joined and the Google Pixel 2 came out with the Pixel Visual Core chip included. I was pretty stoked about the Pixel 2 and that Pixel Visual Core. That's how my whole channel really took off. But that phone, that chip, it helped with camera image processing, but that chip only lasted as long as John Bruno and other major players from the chip team, because they left after the Google Pixel 3 was released and they created their own chip company, Nuvia. But that chip was replaced by the Pixel Neural Core in the Pixel 4. This was a great thing and all, but seemed like a small thing compared to what Apple was doing by having their own system on a chip. Google was relying on Qualcomm chips for their phones and smartwatches, which ironically, Qualcomm acquired Nuvia, the company John Bruno created after leaving Google. Weird. Unfortunately, this has been a severe limiting factor for Google. It has limited their control over what the phone can do, put battery life at the mercy of others unless they provide lower quality displays or put a huge battery inside it. It's limited updates and for sure has been the reason why we haven't had a Google Pixel Watch. But Axios leaked that Google's quiet work was coming soon with their custom system on a chip called Whitechapel, which they would be working on in collaboration with Samsung. Speaking of collaboration, we need to collaborate. You see, only 5.1% of you watching watching are subscribed, and we need to get that to at least 10%. So if you're enjoying these video essays, the history ofs, Google Pixel content, reviews, the news, showcases smart home devices, and videos from an audio engineer's perspective, please hit subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of when I post a new video. For almost a year and a half, we didn't hear anything about this Whitechapel chip Google is working on. It wasn't until an Alphabet/Google earnings call that we finally got a hint of what was to come from Google CEO Sundar Pichai. He mentioned that the hardware that we'll see this year would showcase Android 12 and deep technology investments, many of which we got a glimpse of at Google I/O. It's that deep technology investment that perked many ears, including my own, and made many wonder if this was referring to the Whitechapel chip. That seems to make sense since he emphasized that the Google Pixel remains at the heart of that long-term strategy. But knowing that we'd get a glimpse a few days later, let alone as much as we did, the Made by Google Twitter account tweeted out something, Marquez Brownlee and The Verge posted something, and the Google store gave us a significant look at the upcoming Google Pixel 6 and the Google Pixel 6 Pro. Pro, not XL. Interesting. So, whoa Google, this is different. The game is changing, and we've talked about this a lot in the This Is Tech Today community Discord chat server, which you should join. There's a link in the description, but Google isn't doing the same thing that they used to do. If anything, this is a dramatic strategy change from most everything they've done before. I believe that this is the most confident that Google has ever been about the Google Pixel. But what is so interesting is that they're finally putting in some significant marketing dollars behind this release. Why the sudden massive increase in marketing dollars if you didn't feel like you had something great this time? Also, the fact that Google revealed so much about the Google Pixel 6 just makes me wonder what is left to reveal that they're holding back on. Could we get a one more thing and maybe see a Pixel foldable this year? That would be wild. And then the design, spec, size, and naming are just so different. No longer are they going for that subdued IKEA Scandinavian minimal look that blends into your life and doesn't demand your attention. No longer are they only pricing for budget or mid-tier, and no longer are they seeking to go for lower specs. It's ultra premium, and they even said that is their goal. We get nice glossy glass finishes, metal rails, multiple colors, bigger screens, higher specs, and a huge opinionated Daft Punk looking camera bar. It seems like they're no longer trying to be the iPhone of Androids. If anything, it seems like it's the Samsung phone we've always wanted. More on that in another video. The camera isn't the same anymore either. We have new sensors to finally move past the quickly aging ones used before to hopefully not only catch up to Samsung and Apple, but surpass it again. We may even get additional sensors added that we haven't had on a Pixel device in a while or at all. But the biggest change that has been hinted at is that we no longer have to attach a disclaimer whenever we say, the Google Pixel camera is great, but for photos. The video is a little rough though. This was honestly something I wasn't sure Google could fix because of how long it took to process one photo. I can legit sit here and watch it processing for one photo. So how in the world would Google do that for a video which is at a minimum of 24 frames per second? It seemed impossible, but apparently they can do it in 4K 30 frames per second. And that's likely because they were limited to Qualcomm processors. Having their processors allow them to leave behind the limitations of off-the-shelf processors and gain the ability to focus on, build, and optimize for the things they actually care about. Things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, which not only helps with the camera, but utilizes their experience with the tensor processing units in a mobile focused context. That means even better live transcription on audio that is done on device and can even translate it live into another language. Crazy. It means we can get more features like call screening, hold the phone, crash detection, and more that can be processed on the phone. It also means that Google can push into privacy as they emphasize at Google I/O with a new privacy sandbox called Private Compute Core, where these processes happen on your device, not in the cloud. Or things like updates that have been artificially limited by Qualcomm. No longer do we have to look at Apple devices getting updates for 5 years or more, while Android phones only get 2 or 3 years, or sometimes even less than that. No, the Google Tensor chip allows Google to have control over how long updates are provided to the Google Pixel. And that comes down to the fact that Google is slowly executing on a strategy that Apple has been deploying and benefiting from for years. Instead of being beholden to their suppliers, they're becoming more and more self-sufficient. This control and influence on advancement allows them to have a full stack design of a product, the software and the hardware, and create new opportunities for new and better products like the Google Pixel Watch that we haven't been able to get for years because Google could only rely on its suppliers. And that's why I'm so excited for this Google Pixel video series that I'm working on that you'll see leading up to the Google Pixel 6 and beyond. We're going to take a deep dive look into the things that we know about the Google Pixel 6 so far, some rumors, hypotheses, and thoughts on things like the camera that some people may not have noticed, or what could be going on with the Google Tensor chip, and more. On top of that, I'm going to go over the history of Google's smartphones starting from the Nexus up to the Google Pixel 6, and that's why I have this box right here. You see, this popped up on eBay, and I just had to buy it. So this right here, after a long trip from China, is a prototype of the Google Pixel 2. This hasn't been documented in depth before, so I wanted to see what could have been and document and provide whatever information and files I can to the Google Pixel community. So make sure to join the This Is Tech Today community Discord chat server and help me out over there by asking some questions and help me pull things off of this device. Oh my God, look at that. Very exciting. And after the Google Pixel 6 comes out, I'm going to compare and review each Google Pixel phone against the Google Pixel 6 just to see where we came from and how far we've come. I think that'll be really interesting and fun. So if you find any of those videos that we have planned interesting, make sure to share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified of when I post a new video. And these videos wouldn't be possible without you watching and this video's sponsor, Hi-Pure, and their Hi-Pure 1 premium wireless headphones. Now what's interesting is that the Hi-Pure 1s were developed by experts in Switzerland with the goal of making great music and technology available to all, while also fighting for a better world. Curious? We'll explain how in just a moment. But they developed the Hi-Pure ones to be a premium headphone with premium sound quality at half the price of other earbuds on the market. It's a nice soft matte finish on here. Check that out. It offers passive noise cancellation with their comfortable ear tips that come in at 3 sizes that fit the unique size of your ear. And they say nice and snug from intense movement like working out and running. Oh my gosh. All the way over to taking calls and just listening to music or movies. Let's see what they sound like.
Wow, that's actually pretty solid for the price.
They boast more than 18 hours of battery life, fast charging, Bluetooth 5.0, come in black, white, or pink, and work for both iOS and Android. On top of that, they plan a tree for every pair they sell to help work towards their goal of having a neutral carbon footprint if you purchase using the link down below in the description. I love that. So go check out the Hi-Pure ones by clicking the link in the description, and thanks so much to Hi-Pure for sponsoring this part of the video. So what are your thoughts on this new era of the Google Pixel and how the game is changing? What do you think about the Google Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro so far? What are you most excited about, and what do you hope is there that hasn't been revealed so far? Will you be getting it? Leave a comment down below and join the discussion in the This Is Tech Today community Discord chat server. We'd love to have you. Thank you for watching This Is Tech Today. Until next time.